And while we were talking, we had this idea that, interviews and the whole interviewing process is generally very stressful. And we sort of likened it almost to going on a date. When you're dating, you are looking for a life partner, but when you're interviewing, you're looking for a work partner. And we started to talk, and you've got some great ideas around that. Before we get into the topic, what are you hoping that people who watch or listen to this take away from today?
Yeah, well, I hope they're a bit more conscious in their interview processes. So I think I think with the nerves of an interview, you can lose yourself. You can be very much in your head. And I'd like to think from the tips that they hear today, they'll be more conscious in the process and be able to also evaluate the process better on reflection. So when you come out of the interview and you reflect back, you can, through these techniques we're going to share with you today, you can have a real deep level of thought and think, was that a good experience for me? Do I think this is the foundations of a strong, positive, healthy relationship? Or are there potentially some red flags or things, niggles? Do I come away with some niggles in my gut where I'm just contemplating whether this is the right thing for me?
Great. And we're going to talk about the three stages essentially: the before the interview, the during the interview, and then after the interview. But if I might call out, I think that very often when you know you have an interview and you're going into an interview, it feels like a pass fail, almost exam type thing. How similar is that to dating?
Yeah, I think it can be very similar, right? Especially in this world where we're all, swiping and judging each other really, really quickly. I think this pass or fail element exists even more today. Um, we're probably more critical in these times. We're bombarded with lots of information every day, and I think we're more critical of each other and ourselves. And it can feel like a pass or fail, but we also need to flip that rhetoric and say that it's also pass and fail for them as well. We're also judging whether this new organization is going to be the right fit for me. So, yes, I think there's an element that pass or fail there, but it should be shared responsibility. It should be equal from both parties.
Right. And as a candidate, there's all sorts of emotions going on. There's the fear of rejection, which is similar to dating, I suppose. The willingness or the efforts to impress, because you obviously want to put on your best show. Do you think that it's the right thing to go into an interview with those same set of emotions, or how can you keep them under control?
I think we naturally go into the situation with the same types of emotions. And the reason why we do that is because we are presenting ourselves to strangers. So when we're in a dating scenario, and we haven't met that person before, it's a first date. We are in essence showcasing who we are, putting ourselves out for judgment and trying to form a connection in a fixed, time bound situation. And so interviews are very similar. And that's why we have very similar feelings and experiences. The nerves can be very similar, the feeling of being judged, the wanting to present ourselves. We we say elevator pitches in interviews.
Hmm.
When you meet someone for a date, they'll say like, "Hey, I'm Marilyn. What's your name? Tell me a little bit about yourself." It's a very similar scenario we put ourselves in. So I think those feelings can be very intertwined because the format's very similar.
And when we were talking, you said that really people should go into an interview um, more as a relationship rather than a performance. What does that mean?
Yeah. So you're starting a new relationship, right? And the people you meet in an interview or the people you meet in a date might be people that you meet that one time and you decide to never meet again, or they decide that, or they might be lifelong partners or very, very long partners. So, I've been in my current workplace 7 years. I think about the amount of hours I work for that workplace. Sometimes it feels like I spend more time with my colleagues than I do, at home with my husband. And those relationships are critical, right? We spend a lot of time in it. And I think if you approach an interview scenario as assessing whether this is going to be a lifelong relationship, a positive relationship over time, that's a much better way than going into it thinking this is a performance and we perform and we put on this kind of facade and we don't really show who we really are. So, I guess that's one of my first tips and my first points is try to be as natural as possible, because you want to showcase the whole of you, not the performance, not your best qualities. And then, 3 weeks into the job, people are thinking, that's not the person we met
Yeah. Yes.
a few weeks ago. How strange. This is at odds of what we had interpreted on the day. So you want to be as authentic. And that's probably a really key word in dating, right? Being your authentic self, bringing yourself to the scenario. And the same with an interview. You want to be as authentic as possible. And likewise, you really hope that they are being as authentic as possible back to you, because you are trying to read them as much as they are reading you.